Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with another top 15 ranking video here for the preseason or the 2026 NFL draft. We are doing cornerbacks today. Josiah, how are you, my friend? Good to see you again in our usual meeting place.
It's great to see you again. Corners have been my favorite position as scout. I say it every year. And this class, we were talking about it before we even started. This class is unusually very deep, very talented. We could
Yeah,
have easily
it's
done a
almost
top
too good to
25.
be true. This early on, it's like, wait a minute here, because if you look at some now, obviously, like numbers are skewed, measurables are skewed, 40s are skewed. But if you look at the speed of some of these guys and the size of some of these guys, you're like, everyone is just a massive athlete that could run in the 4.3s. It's like it was like hitter after hitter. This was honestly, we've done top 50, we've done lists in years prior, and we did a list last week too. This is probably one of the toughest lists I've had to come up with in quite some time. This was a tough one for me.
Yeah, same here. And like I said, we could have easily gone 25 guys. I mean, this class, we were talking about just 10, 12 names that didn't make our list off camera, which we'll get to at the end of the video. But I'm super excited for this. You've got some players in your list that I don't have in mind and vice versa. So very curious to hear your thoughts on some of these guys and kind of give my thoughts on some of them as well.
Yeah, and of course, before we get into starting talking about all these prospects and stuff, these is of course are subjective to change as well, because it is the preseason after all. I'll be the first to admit it that a couple of years ago I had Kalen King as my number 2 overall corner, and then, well, we know what happened there. But
Yeah.
so speaking of Kalen King, we'll get into him in a little bit. But sir, if you would like to go through your first 5 or your bottom 5, I guess you should say, which seems like a harsh thing to say, but still in the top 15.
No, I understand what you mean. At number 15, I've got Dalen Everett from Georgia. At number 14, I've got Josh Motton, now at Southern Miss, transferred from Marshall. At number 13, I've got Davison Igbonosum from Ohio State. At number 12, I've got Domani Jackson from Alabama. And at number 11, I've got Colin Wright from Stanford.
All right, my 15 through 11 here, I have Jameer Latimer, now at Wisconsin, formerly at Jacksonville State, DJ McKinney at Colorado, Dalen Everett at Georgia, Josh Motton at now Southern Miss, and Takario Davis at Washington now.
Yeah, so the one guy starting at 15 that you had, I didn't have, Jameer Latimer. You talked about him in your breakout players of college football. I got to Latimer. I'm curious what you liked about him, because there were things that I liked, but I definitely wanted to see a little bit more. And it's why he ultimately didn't make my list. But what do you like about Latimer?
First thing I like about, and this goes for a lot of transferring players as well, I love the step up in competition. I mean, last year he flashed 6 pass deflections, 3 interceptions, was basically the driving force behind the secondary for Jacksonville State last year. Love the ball skills. That's one thing that really spoke out to me. He's quick to break up passes, which I like a lot. He gets his hands in between the hands of the receiver. His footwork was good. I'd like to see a little bit more, a little sticky in man coverage, but I don't know if that's exactly how Wisconsin's going to play. So it's going to be interesting to see how his skill set applies to Wisconsin, if he'll even start for Wisconsin. But I think there's a lot to like there. The frame is okay. He definitely could play in the boundary, can play in the slot as well, has more than enough speed to play in the slot. 5'10". I've seen conflicting reports. He looks more of that 190-pound frame, but I've even seen something all the way down to 170. So I don't really know. Let's call it 180, 185, something like that. Yeah, he's someone that kind of, maybe it's because of the competition that I was watching, but he really just kind of stood out to me on tape as someone that brought that pop and brought that spark to the cornerback position.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing I really liked about Latimer, and I think he'll probably, with his size, probably going to be a slot guy, but he plays the slot really well. He's a good downhill run defender. He plays physical, really good tackler for the cornerback position, which I love to see. So
A lot of guys like that in this class too.
yeah, there's some really good tackling corners in this class, which was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, Latimer, not high on my list, but definitely a guy that is interesting, and I'm curious to see, like you said, how he looks in the step up in competition. Another guy here, Dalen Everett from Georgia. I guess I'll take it with Everett here. Everett, I liked him a lot going into last year. Maybe it was more a weaker cornerback class as a result, but I looked at him a little bit this year and I have him at number, where do I have him? 15, just because I don't really love his athleticism. I think he's a fine athlete, but I just felt like he was a guy that is probably going to be best suited playing in a zone coverage scheme. He's got good zone instincts. He had decent ball skills at times, but I didn't think the change of direction was fantastic. I didn't think he had the greatest speed. Now, when he did play man to man, I thought he looked pretty. He held up nicely in press. He had a good physicality. His back pedal smooth, but I think it's not that I don't like Everett. It's that I think a lot of these other corners are a little bit better athletes, can be a little bit more versatile. And that's ultimately why I have Everett at 15. But curious what your thoughts are on him.
Yeah, I believe I have him at 13, so we're not too far off there on that one. But yeah, Everett, I agree with what you're saying. I would like to add that Everett is someone that has the tools, has the size, has the overall strength, the play strength, especially like you said, in man coverage and in man press. Needs technical refinement though. There's a lot going on the upper body that I don't love. I feel like he doesn't turn. I don't know if you saw this. I saw it a couple times in those kind of 50-50 balls. He doesn't get his head turned around nearly as quick as I would like to see. The instincts for me, I feel like, or like ball hawking instincts just really aren't there. I feel like you said, he's someone that is good in one area, but isn't as versatile as a lot of other guys in this class. And virtually that's why, he's going to be a little bit lower on the list. But I will say, I think maybe I was a little bit higher on his athleticism. Change of direction, I agree, but I thought he was pretty smooth in some areas. And I thought his speed was pretty good. His long speed was good. Could have been skewed by the press man. But I thought he kept up with a lot of receivers that were probably faster than him. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he's one of those guys that maybe in a weaker cornerback class would probably be edging towards the top 10, but he's lucky to make the top 15 with how stacked this class is.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. Next, we've got Josh Motton from Southern Miss. We both love this guy. I thought he had a chance of coming out last year. Obviously, Marshall wins the Sun Belt, and then there's like a mass exodus of all the players and the coaching staff, and he follows Coach Huff to Southern Miss. And a really interesting corner. So I'll let you take this one. What do you like about Josh Motton?
Well, I'll start with what we discussed before off camera. I hate the lateral move. I get it. You're following your head coach, but I think you and I could both agree that Motton has more than enough talent to play for a team that's better than Southern Miss. So, a little disappointed in that. This is such a physical group of corners. His press man is actually ranked, I believe, off the top of my head, it was like 7th or 8th in the FBS last year, right? It was like 83.8 or something like that grade on his press man, something along those lines. He was high up there. The highlights against Ohio State kind of speak for themselves as well. He's just a really fun overall player. Ball skills are there as well. What else do I have on my? The great length and the speed overall too. I mean, you could just look at the picture there. Look at how long his arm is going across. He's got really good tools that I would have loved to see some refinement at a program that has a little bit more pedigree. I think Huff is a good coach. I do. Look at what he did with Marshall the last few years. I think he's a good coach, but I would have loved to see him, like you said, in a Power 4 school to really refine those skills. But yeah, I think this is a guy that, like I said before we started recording, if I had more balls, he'd probably be in that top 8 range for me. But again, the lateral move, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, Motton's a really fun corner. You mentioned it. The length is phenomenal. He's a little undersized. He's 6'1", 164, but he plays bigger than his frame. He's physical. The ball skills are phenomenal. 6 pass breakups, 5 interceptions this past season. I think was the highest graded corner I believe was the highest graded corner in the FBS last year with a 91.5 coverage grade. I mean, the list of strengths goes on. Fluid athleticism, great hips. He can mirror routes really well. He's good in press man coverage. The closing speed is good. He's a better tackler than you want to see.
Especially for someone 165 pounds.
Yeah, I think the 165 pounds is kind of why I have him a little bit lower. And I thought he could use some improvement when getting off of blocks. I thought his play strength was a little bit up and down at times, but this is a super talented corner, probably going to be the top power or top group of 5 corner in the NFL draft next year, unless there is a out of the blue wild card that we get. But Motton's a really fun player, and I'm excited to see what he looks like for the Golden Eagles this upcoming year. And then we've got Tacario Davis. Now, little spoiler alert, I didn't tell you this. I don't have Tacario Davis in my top 15. So I'll let you take this one. What do you like about Tacario Davis?
Yeah, it's for me. Let me preface this by saying that probably a safety at the next level.
Yeah.
I mean, just for the overall size, I mean, you're talking about someone that's arguably close to 6'4". He towers over wide receivers. So what I really enjoyed about watching Tacario Davis was the physicality. He reads, he's a great processor. He reads routes very, very well, almost runs the routes for the receiver at times. But overall, that athleticism and the overall speed, I mean, they're saying around that low 4.5 speed. And we've seen, especially in years past, a ton of good corners go very, very highly with that same area of speed. I just don't see it for his overall athleticism. He seems like someone that's going to be better coming downhill, going up against tight ends. I mean, who doesn't want a 6'4" safety with his frame and his overall ball skills and his overall processing ability against tight ends, running backs out of the backfield, guys like that. That's the reason I have him here, because I think it's worth mentioning that if he does come out as a corner, you could be potentially looking at an Eric Stokes type of player. I don't really know how well people will feel about that, but that's what you're getting. You're getting a huge body, long arms, just like a tarantula type of player, but again, it's the overall athleticism and the speed that for me just kind of screams safety at the next level.
Yeah, and that was why I left him out of my top 15. And on top of that, like if you go back to his 2023 tape, this could have been a first round corner.
Yep.
Like he looked phenomenal. I just felt like he looked like a completely different player in 2024. He felt
all of Arizona looked terrible last year.
That is a very fair point, but he just felt slower than he did in years prior. The tackling got a little bit better, which you like to see, but
safety.
Yeah, he's a tough evaluation. I've got him. Where do I have him? I had him at 22, which is, I mean, like I said, deep corner class. We'll see kind of what he can do at Washington. He's reuniting with Jed Fish, which he had the best year of his career with Jed Fish and Fusion's Prysock next to him. So that Washington team is a really interesting one. We'll see how he performs. But next up, Colin Wright, a guy that I have on my list. Did you get to Colin Wright? Did you watch him? I'm curious what your thoughts were on him if you got to him.
I did. Like we said at the beginning or off camera here, I just feel like there's a lot of guys clustered in that 10 to 15 range for me, where Wright is someone that just kind of, just missed that top 15 for me. He was probably, if we were going to do a 20, he'd probably be like 18, something around there. Yeah, I'm curious to see why you have him as high as you do, especially with the corners that are in this class.
Yeah, right. First off, I think he's got phenomenal size. 6'1", 192 pounds. Got the ideal build for a boundary corner in today's NFL.
Mm-hmm.
As a tackler, I thought he was really reliable. He used his arms to his advantage, wrapped up really well in the open field. I thought he had good twitch. His change of direction was very fluid. The ball skills this past season, really impressive for him at Stanford. But I think the area of his game that really impressed me was the discipline. He was very disciplined on double moves. He didn't bite. He trusted what he was seeing. And I really value that, especially in corners that play a lot of zone, which Stanford did. He just seemed to always be in the right place at the right time. His instincts really, really sharp, I felt like. I thought going back to him being a good tackler, like I felt like he took blocks really well. He was able to like get off of blocks really well. He's strong. And I love the versatility. He played in the slot, he played outside for Stanford. I think this guy has all of the makings of being a really good corner at the next level. The one area I'd like to see, I didn't think he had the greatest speed in the world. I felt like there were times where he would get beat by faster receivers, and he would play a lot of off coverage. And as a result, if a receiver runs a quick out, he just didn't have the quickness to necessarily get back into the play. I wanted to put Colin Wright in my top 10. He just missed it, but this is a guy that I really like and think could be in for a big time year for Stanford.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Also, I would like to go back to what you said. Great tackler, great pursuit angles for someone that really shouldn't, he comes downhill like a dart. And actually he does wrap up very, very well. I was impressed in that area where the tackling, I mean, like we said a bunch of times, this is just such a strong tackling corner class, and you don't see that too often. But yeah, the speed and going back to what you said about the twitch, I just didn't really see too much of the twitch there. The quickness, it seems like his processing, it seems like he was reliable and he was disciplined. He was too safe for me. There are certain times where you need to take risks, and I just didn't see too much from him in that area. I am nitpicking. I mean, when you get down to the nitty gritty of this class, you kind of have to nitpick in some areas, but he is someone that's definitely going to be on the radar as probably like a late day 2 pick when it's all said and done if he comes out this year.
Yeah, I'm there with you as well. But let's move on. I believe now we're getting into our 10 through 6.
Ooh.
And you take it away. So who do you have as your 10 through 6?
So at 10, I have Davison Igbonosum here. I have Domani Jackson at number 9, Mansoor Delane at 8, Jalen Kilgore at 7, and Malik Muhammad at 6.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute. Okay, go ahead.
A lot of the same names here. At number 10, I've got DJ Harvey at USC. I know what you're freaking out about. At number 9, I've got AJ Harris from Penn State. At number 8, I've got Malik Muhammad at Texas. At the exact same spot as you, I've got Jalen Kilgore at number 7. And then I think probably the biggest gap that we have, maybe 8-spot difference. I've got DJ McKinney at number 6. You've got DJ McKinney at number 14. So let's talk about Davison Igbonosum. Igbonosum, slight misspell on my part, so I do apologize. I'll take this one because everything is there for him to be maybe the number 1 corner in the class. The guy has phenomenal size. The athleticism is ridiculous. You said something like he could run easily in the 4.3s. I wouldn't be shocked if he runs in the 4.2s. I mean, this guy flies. He is a ridiculous athlete.
Yep.
The movement skills are phenomenal. 6'2", 190. I think he's a good tackler. He's got fluid hips. It's the lack of ball skills just really hasn't been able to convert that athleticism into a ton of production. Not a lot of interceptions, not a lot of pass breakups. And it's the penalties. This is a player that just is so grabby, and that scares me at the next level. That's why I have him outside of my top 10. The traits are all there, but it seemed like in the biggest moments of the year for Ohio State, a pass interference was getting thrown on Igbonosum. It's going to have to get better. That's really the one area that I have against him, but it is a very crucial one for me. And so I've got Igbonosum outside the top 10. Love to hear your thoughts on why you have him, I believe, at number 10.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it on the head. All the talking points that I was going to say, you kind of said already. But my thing is, I love the back and forth with this, because as we're being grabby and being, penalized quite a bit is something that's a little bit higher on your list than maybe mine is. I think that is something at the NFL level under the right tutelage can be coached out of you. And I think, if you just bank on the intangibles and you bank on the tools, you're looking at probably one of the freakier, maybe a top 3 freaky athlete from this cornerback class in Igbonosum. And that's really what I'm banking on here. Yeah, the ball skills, aren't great yet, but this is also an ascending player. Now he's going to take on an even bigger role this upcoming year at Ohio State. So I'm looking for a big jump at least in the ball production. At least I don't really think you could teach ball skills. That's not something that I don't think you could teach, but production is something that I'm looking for here. And maybe just a little bit more disciplined with the penalties and with his hands. But again, tools, athleticism. I feel like this guy is just, you know, it's funny when I did my way too early draft, which I only did a couple weeks ago. I actually had Igbonosum as a first round pick, and I think that that could hold true, especially at the corner. I mean, there are 3 areas in the NFL, maybe 4, where you take freaky athletes that you could potentially develop. That's defensive end, that's corner, that's wide receiver, and potentially tackle as well. So we've seen that time and time again where teams are just banking off of that potential that this player is going to make good on their intangibles. And I'm kind of hoping Igbonosum takes that step forward this year for Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, if Maxwell Harrison was a first-round pick while running a 4.2, I think Igbonosum absolutely could be a first-round pick. So moving on to Domani Jackson, another guy you have in your top 10 that just missed my top 10. So I'll let you take this one. What do you like about Domani Jackson?
Yeah, dude, it's just it's the overall speed and athleticism. I mean, the guy is, you talk about Igbonosum running a 4.2. Domani Jackson can run a 4.2, probably backwards. I mean, the guy is insanely fast, but that I love that about his game because that allows him to be aggressive, but at the same time, that allows him to be too aggressive, and he's so susceptible to double moves and anything that is, how do I describe this? Let me see. Anything that is a play that takes time to develop, he's going to bite every time on that first move. And that's purely because of the speed. I get it. Needs refinement, needs to just kind of develop overall, but the tools, everything is there. The size. I mean, look at him. That's a thick boy right there at playing corner. I mean, I know that it's a rib pad for the most part, but look at those arms. Like the guy has the size, has the overall athleticism. Would love to see him develop a little bit more as a tackler too. I felt like far too many times he was getting whipped around because he was really just kind of leading with his arms and just getting whipped right off. But yeah, Jackson is someone, again, like Igbonosum, that I'm kind of betting on those intangibles and hoping that he develops into what he can potentially be.
Yeah, you knocked it out of the park on this one. I have Jackson just slightly above Igbonosum because the traits are ridiculous. 6'1", 197. The speed is phenomenal. Fluid hips, mirrors routes really well. This is a guy that if you're going to play a heavy man coverage scheme, Domani Jackson's going to be at the top of your board. He's one of the best press man corners in this class. He's physical. He's got the speed, like we mentioned. I just didn't love a lot of the zone stuff. You mentioned he bites a lot. I thought the instincts were very up and down. And I actually thought last year the tackling was not great, and it got better this year. I thought the tackling improved. He improved as a run defender. I'd like to see some more consistency there. I'd like to see him improve at taking on blocks. His play strength, I think, is still a little bit up and down, but I mean, this is a guy
especially for 197 too. You need to play a little bit stronger at 197.
Yeah, exactly. And a guy that, yes, he bites on double moves a lot, but the traits are all there.
Off the charts.
And I think he's going to be a guy that, with Alabama kind of running everything back, I mean, he's got a real opportunity to break out in a big way this year for the Crimson Tide. So I'm excited to see what he can do for Alabama. Another guy that I have here that you didn't was DJ Harvey at USC. I love this guy.
Let me preface this by saying that I loved so much of what I saw. But for me, you know how you say penalties are big for you?
Mm-hmm.
Competition is big for me, especially for this position. San Jose State moving to USC, sure. Mid-season, we could be talking about something different here. But for right now, I just you're a big fish in a little pond because this guy obviously has incredible talent. And I loved a lot of what I saw, but I just couldn't get over the fact that he was playing at San Jose State. And I know for people that are probably going to argue, yes, I am aware that one of the better corners in the NFL already came out of Toledo in Quinyon Mitchell. I get that. A lot of good players come out of smaller schools, but I love to see the ascension. I love to see guys take on that competition and want to get better. And I'm hoping DJ Harvey is that guy. that could step up. Because honestly, with the intangibles, with the overall production, he's someone that's easily probably in a day 2 consideration already.
Yeah, and you're right. I get it. San Jose State, not the greatest competition in the world. They're in the Mountain West, which I'd say is probably the best group of 5 conference, but still, there's just so much intangibles to just absolutely love with DJ Harvey. Excellent length for the boundary. The speed and the ability to just stick to guys' hips is just phenomenal. He's a really good run defender. He graded out really well in that regard. He's got really quick feet. He turns his hips incredibly well. The ball skills and the production was phenomenal. Again, I'd like to see him bulk up. He's 5'11", 174 pounds. Like to see that get a little bit better. Another guy that can be a little bit grabby at the top of routes, does have some penalties here and there. I think it was better than Igbonosum, but still something I'd like to see improve. And while he's a solid tackler, I wouldn't say he's a great tackler at this point, but a guy that had a 90.3 coverage grade per PFF, 17 run stops on the year. This guy going from San Jose State to USC, this could be the guy that breaks out. I know we said that about a couple of guys, but going to a higher level of competition, I just see so much that I really love about this guy's game. And I think he's going to be one of the top corners in the class. I've got him at 10. Let's see how he looks in the Big Ten, but I think he's going to be a really good player.
Like
Jalen Kilgore. Go ahead.
I said I like how you did that. That was good.
Jalen Kilgore, number 7 at South Carolina. We both have him at number 7. Really interesting player. I was honestly very surprised by the way that they utilized him in this defense, especially with a guy that has freaky size at 6'2", 219. He's like a box safety nickel. Like, they never played this guy on the boundary. So what did you see with Kilgore?
First off, South Carolina is just producing freaks. I mean, what is in the water over there in South Carolina for the Gamecocks? What is over there? I mean, unbelievable. But Kilgore, I'll say it right out the bat, run defending for corners is huge for me. Best run defending corner in the class, in my opinion. I don't really think it's particularly close. And this all stems back to that freaky athleticism, that freaky size, 6'2", 219, and he's able to move as well as he does, is very, very impressive. I think that the speed aspect was really, really underrated as well. I thought he was able to keep up with pretty much everyone for the most part. I guess when you have to go up against Nick Harbor in one-on-ones, I guess you have to kind of, you have to kind of to sack up there. But Kilgore is a really, really great prospect that, again, I hate to say it, but you feel like maybe transitioning towards the NFL is someone that's probably going to get a lot more looks at safety, just based off of the experience already for South Carolina. But man, there's a lot to like about him. I'm curious to see what you like about him as well.
I have the very first line of my notes. He's got the versatility to play safety or corner. The size is phenomenal. And I think I was really interested to see how they utilized him. Like I said, this is a guy that played almost purely in the nickel, but he did a great job, like you said, matching up with anybody, receivers, running backs, tight ends, coming downhill, taking on blocks. He's got great play strength. He's got the perfect blend, I would say, of size and athleticism. Another guy from South Carolina that I wouldn't be shocked if he runs in the 4.3s. I just think his speed is really, really impressive. It was just, I think, in terms of his coverage technique, he still needs some refinement. I felt like he was raw. I felt like defenders or receivers, I should say, were able to cross in front of him a little bit easier than I'd want to see. Another guy that I want to see a little bit more from the boundary. I value Nichols a little bit less, and we just didn't see him playing in that role at the college level.
I love it because I usually do it the opposite way, because I think it's incredibly difficult to defend someone on an island like that. And I'm not saying that you don't, but I mean, no, you're 100% right. But man, South Carolina, just look at the freak, like, just not even talking about corners, just the overall freaks on that roster over the last couple of years has been unbelievable.
I know another team that, like, they are a sneaky national title contender team, I think. I absolutely love what South Carolina is doing right now. And I think Kilgore, is going to be an even bigger part of this team. O'Donnell Fortune is gone. Nicky Menwari's gone. So how are they going to utilize him? They seemingly produce a great corner every single year. I think Kilgore is going to be that guy this year. Then we got Malik Muhammad at Texas. An interesting player. I'll just come out and say it. I think he's the Maxwell Hairston of this draft class. I'd love to hear what you like and dislike about Malik Muhammad.
One thing that stood out to me, a lot of draft boards have him very, very high up.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's my fault for going into it with the expectation of, well, I got a top 5 player on my hands here. I'm going to hold him to the top 5 standard.
Yeah.
And I was left a little bit disappointed. I mean, obviously, just looking by the picture, frame is going to kill me. I mean, this is a guy that could probably wind up being 168 pounds, at the combine or something, or a Tez Johnson in the mid 150s. But yeah, on the things that I like his natural fluidity as an athlete. I think his hips were good. His back pedal was good. I thought he was extremely versatile, was able to play anywhere. I mean, this is just the Texas Longhorns like rule of thumb at this point. If you are an above average athlete, you're going to be playing everywhere on this defense. Yep. And Muhammad is someone that stood out. I think he plays, even though being in that 170-pound range, I think he plays much bigger than that. Run defending is kind of where you lose me, getting off blocks. And this is a similar narrative that we've had so far in this video with smaller corners, with guys that don't have the play strength, with guys that don't have the size. You're not going to get off blocks well. It's just there's really not much that they could kind of do. I mean, how much can you possibly put on without compromising your athleticism? That's the thing. Like, Malik Muhammad could probably bulk up to 190, and you're talking about putting some serious strain on his athletic ability. But yeah, I mean, for what he is, I think he's great. I think I was left a little bit disappointed, though.
Yeah, I agreed with a lot of the sentiments. Fluid athlete, good long speed. The stop and go is really good. Yeah. I felt like I liked some of the hand fighting, the instincts in zone coverage. And that's kind of where they kind of lose me, because Texas is such an interesting defense because they play so much zone. But it was the Jahdae Barron conversation going into last year. It's like, okay, well, he's great in zone coverage. Can he be consistent in man? And that's kind of the questions that I have with Malik Muhammad. While the reps that he did get in man, I thought were good, those were few and far between. I agree with you wholeheartedly. His getting off of blocks was just a nightmare for him at times. He was just pushed around like a rag doll. It was pretty bad. More consistency in man coverage, not an awesome tackler. And I thought the footwork was a little bit choppy at times. It was good. It wasn't great. We'll see what happens, but I got Malik Muhammad. Where did I have him? I got Malik Muhammad at number 8. So
where did I have him? 6?
I think you had him at 6. So we're in that same vicinity. But
it's funny that you mentioned that. That's why I was laughing, because literally the first rep that I watched of Malik Muhammad was him getting blocked off camera. I was like, all right, well, that's not a great start.
There's some ugly reps in there. There's some great reps in there.
Yeah.
Let's see some more consistency. He'll be the number 1 corner on Texas this year. And if he balls out, this is another guy that could be a first-round corner from Texas. But
100%.
DJ McKinney, the guy that we have the biggest gap between. There's one other guy that's pretty close. But DJ McKinney, I've got him at 6. You've got him at 14. Talk about why you have him so low on your rankings.
I love what I see through the eye test. Good length, great athlete, good long speed, good in press coverage as well, which is something that I thought was great. You have the Deion Sanders effect. You know what I mean? You're learning from one of, if not the best. You had Travis Hunter on the other side. Now, I know we mentioned him before, and I said we were going to mention him soon, but we went off the beaten path a little bit there. It's the Kalen King effect for me. And this is just purely speculative on my side. I need to see DJ McKinney without Travis Hunter on the other side of the field. I need it. I need to see, and there were reps where, you look at him and you go, all right, this was all on his own. This was like, this is what he could be at his very best. He's going to be very good. So I just have him kind of dwindling down there. I wanted to put him in the top 15 because I liked so much of what I saw. Like I said, great length, really good athlete, good speed, good in press. He was one of the highest graded press cover corners, I believe, in the FBS last year as well. So that's something to hold on to. I wanted to put him in this top 15, but when we've seen it time and time again, when you have an elite cornerback prospect on one side, and then they go to the NFL, that elite, that elite second corner falls off a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping we don't see that with DJ McKinney. But I'm curious to see why you have him so high, because I probably will share a lot of the same sentiment with you. I just the Kalen King thing just keeps swirling around in my head.
Yeah, and I mean that's totally fair, but DJ McKinney, 6'2", 190, excellent frame for the boundary. Started his career at Oklahoma State, transferred to Colorado last year, and I love the size. I love the length. I thought he was one of the best boundary corners in the country. I mean, the guy can man up. It seemed like any wide receiver. He uses his length really well. He is great in press man coverage, as you mentioned. I thought the back pedal was fluid. I thought the speed was very good for him. The area of his game that impressed me the most, however, was his tackling ability. There were a lot of players on this Colorado secondary last year that struggled to tackle. Shiloh Sanders, Colton Hood, even Travis Hunter at times. DJ McKinney was consistently in the play, wrapping up, and he had great tackling technique, which I was really impressed by. Can he improve at getting off of blocks? Can he show the ability to be a number one corner? And on top of that, I did think he got a little handsy at the top of routes at times. Like to see that come back a little bit, but the traits are there. The production was there. The ball skills were very impressive. I love the tackling ability. I'm very curious to see what he looks like as a number one corner. I tend to believe that he can come up and prove to be that guy. And that's why I've got him at number 6. But all of your concerns about him are very valid. I think we both were burned by the Kalen King thing. So
we were duped. We were duped by Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think McKinney's an awesome player, and I'm very curious to see what he can do. But let's get into the top 5s now. At number 5 for me, I've got Chandler Rivers from Duke. Awesome player. At number 4, I've got Mansoor Delane out of LSU. At number 3, I've got Domani McCoy from Tennessee. At number 2, I've got D'Angelo Pons from Indiana. And at number 1, I've got Terrell from Clemson.
Yes. The top 3 was so hard for me, dude.
Yeah.
At number 5, I have D'Angelo Pons. At 4, I have Chandler Rivers. 3, I have Terrell. 2, I have AJ Harris. And at 1, I have Domani McCoy.
So let's talk about Mansoor Delane. You had him at number 8. I've got him. Where do I have him at? 4? I've got him at 4. So I like this guy quite a bit and was very pleasantly surprised because last year we were talking about Mansoor Delane potentially coming out in the 2024 class, and I just didn't really see a lot there that brought me a ton of excitement. I thought he was fine. I thought he took a big step up, though, in 2024. And then he makes the big-time transfer to LSU. So all of the right pieces are fitting together, and I think he's in for a big-time year. So what do you like about Delane?
I think the first couple things that kind of blow me away are the instincts and the processing ability. Yeah. Huge jump from 2 years ago to now. It's almost like he's a different player when it comes to that. I felt like he was getting lost a ton of times a couple years ago. Last year, cleaned up completely. You could tell that he really, really stayed behind in that film room quite a few nights. He really, really turned it around. All the physical tools are there too. Good frame, good size, good speed. I mean, he's got everything that you want in, a boundary corner projecting to the NFL level. I love the big time move. I mean, it's not the biggest move out there. You're going from the ACC to the SEC. So obviously you're going to cornerback central right here, especially in one of the cornerback universities in LSU. So he's got big shoes to fill over here, but he's going to step in and probably be your number one corner. And I'm expecting big things out of Delane here in 2020. That's why I think I have him just a little bit lower. The expectation for me is really big, especially after the year that he had last year. I'm kind of hoping that he goes in, develops a little bit more, and he is your number one corner because if he could develop just a little bit more than what he was last year, you're looking at probably a first-round pick.
Yeah, and I have a first-round grade on Delane. Going into last year, I viewed Delane as more of a nickel corner. He played a lot smaller, and I just felt like with his game, that's where he was going to probably translate. He bulked up. He's 6'1", 187, and the instincts for him, I just thought got so much better.
Yeah.
Like you said, so many good reps in both zone, but I loved what he showed in man. He uses his speed. He gets physical without getting penalties. He is a really smart player that doesn't bite on double moves.
He knows how to use his hands very well too.
Yeah, his closing speed is phenomenal. And I thought he improved like exponentially as a tackler and run defender. Just a 9.8% missed tackle rate, which is a really good number from a corner. Still allows too much underneath. I think, especially when he's playing off, he plays a little bit too far. I don't love that. And I did think the play strength, again, can get a little bit better. He can improve at getting off of blocks, but all of the right things are clicking for Delane. And I think he's got some of the best tools to work with. The speed is there, the ability to play in multiple different coverage schemes, to play all over the defensive side. He played a little bit of safety this year for Virginia Tech. So I love everything that I saw from him in 2024. And I'm very excited to see him at LSU this year.
One thing I'd like to add that I'm glad that you mentioned, just the gap, the cushion that he's giving.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be ixnayed at LSU. I think you're going to be left on an island. You're going to be forced to trust your speed. And that's something that Delane really, I haven't seen him do in his collegiate career, but he's got it. He's got it. I think he needs that confidence. It's going to be tough. You're trusting your speed against SEC competition. It's going to be tough. But like I said, if he can continue to develop and gain that confidence, I really do think that he's a first round player.
Yeah, absolutely. Chandler Rivers out of Duke, second positional rankings that we've had, second Duke player that we've had. I'm going to say it again. Duke is a sneaky team to watch out for in the ACC. I think the secondary is a big part of the reason. Chandler Rivers was one of the most impressive corners that I watched this entire cycle. I'd love for you to break him down.
Yeah, so this is this year's Jahdae Barron for me.
Yeah.
I think he is an exceptional processor. His football IQ is off the charts. He's tenacious in his pursuit as well. He's got how did I put this? Hold on. I have it right here, actually. Okay. So the overall combination of the speed, the athleticism, and the play strength that he possesses for a small, not the biggest guy. Clearly, you're looking at here. Fire uniforms, by the way. I love that.
That helmet's awesome.
I love that helmet. Is so nice. I wanted to mention that before we started, but I just had to put it in there. But yeah, Rivers is someone that honestly I value. Nickel guys probably a little bit higher than you do, but this guy is just so impressive when he lines up in the nickel. Is someone that is just fearless. When you that's terrifying. Lining up against a potential 5-star athlete in the middle of the field with no boundary to protect you on one side, and he mirrors very, very well. I'm a huge fan of Chandler Rivers. Again, we're going to sound like we are broken records. We're going to repeat. Would love to see him get off blocks a little bit better. Would love to see him be just a little bit of a better run defender. Really, I'm not asking for a lot here because Rivers is going to be someone that he's out on the field for his coverage ability and his football IQ, not for his run defending.
I think you knocked it out of the park yet again. The football IQ with Chandler Rivers is just, I think he might be one of the smartest defensive backs in this entire class. I mean, the zone instincts are phenomenal. He just sees things before they develop, and he's got the quickness to trigger and make a play. I absolutely loved that from him. He's a really good mover. The hips are phenomenal. He's sticky in coverage. He can play off. He can play press. He can play inside. He can play outside. Like, there's so much there that I love. I think you had him at 4. I had him at 5. And really the only reason I had him a little bit lower, I saw things a little bit differently in terms of his long speed. I thought in short areas, his quickness was really good and he made good plays on the football, but I didn't think that his long speed was the greatest in the world. If he can, I mean, I didn't see that with Jahdae Barron and he ran a 4.3. So if he can come out and do what Jahdae Barron was able to do, which is a tall task, but if he can improve the speed and show that he can man up a little bit better on some of these deep routes, I wouldn't hesitate to consider him as the number one corner in the class because I think he's that smart of a football player. I think the traits are all there. What's going on up here? Can he improve some of the speed? And like you said, can he get off of blocks a little bit better? But Chandler Rivers, an awesome football player that, again, I really like this Duke team. I think he's going to be a big part of this team this year.
We mentioned this before we started. You have a Devin Witherspoon comp for someone. Devin Witherspoon is my comp for Chandler Rivers.
Yeah, he's so good. I was blown away with what I saw from him. AJ Harris, your number 2 corner, my number 9 corner. I was a little surprised, as you were a little surprised.
So I'm gonna flip the script on you. I need to hear why he's 9.
Well, I think right out the gate, one, it's a deep corner class, like we talked about. And like, I think from 1 through 3, it's very interchangeable for me. A lot of these guys have very similar grades to me. The reason I had Harris a little bit lower, one, let me talk about what I like about Harris. I thought the athleticism was really good. The hip fluidity, the ability to play press. I thought his punch at the line of scrimmage and his ability to hand fight was really, really impressive. I thought that he could be a really nice blitz threat. There were times where Tom Allen would use him from like the wide alignment and he'd come in as a blitzer. I thought he did a good job in that role. I thought he had good speed. The length was there. Like, you know, he's checking all the boxes. However, I didn't think he was a great tackler. I didn't think that he was the most disciplined player. I thought he bit on double moves and things way too often. And I think, lastly, the ball skills just weren't there. He didn't have a ton of production.
That's a Penn State thing, though.
It is a Penn State thing. I just didn't love it with some of these other corners that I felt like had better ball skills and they showcased the ability to be a little bit more consistent there. I like AJ Harris. I think he is a back end of the first round, early second round at the very worst.
All right.
But I have him at number 9.
Okay.
And it's just a deep corner class. That's all it is.
No, you're right. I mean, I agree with your entire sentiment. It's the technical aspect. Yeah. I have him down as my number 1 most technical corner in the class. That's really what's big for me. I mean, just tackling, sure, whatever. Let's take that away for a second. Let's look at the ankle flexion, the hip mobility, the fluidity in his transitions. The guy moves effortlessly on the football field, and it just looks so incredibly smooth. And I don't like to say I'm in awe of watching a player on the field, but really, I was more in awe of just watching him. I would zoom in on just him and just watch. I beg of you.
He does play a beautiful brand of football. Like that's the best way to put it.
It's beautiful. That's the thing for me. See, I get and everything that you said, all your concerns are completely valid. 100%. I mean, god awful tackler, but really bad. And also that's a Penn State thing too for a lot of corners too. But Kalen King, I could see. Look, is this a vicious cycle? Is this going to happen to me again? I don't think
it will happen to you again. I think Harris is a little bit more technically defined than Kalen King was. True. I agree. I think Harris is a great corner. I really do. And I'm very curious to see. I mean, Penn State is going to be really, really good this year. Yeah. I don't think there's any question about that. If Harris can improve the ball skills and improve the god-awful tackling, then he'll be a first-round pick. But, you know, I just want to see a little bit more consistency there from him. But moving on here, D'Angelo Pons from Indiana. Now, there's a little trivia question for you. When was the last time the Indiana Hoosiers had a first-round pick? Probably should have asked you this in the quarterback ranking
Yeah.
too, because
Dang. Because I think right away, I think they have like 3 guys that could be, maybe even 4, that could be first round picks this year. I'm not going to sit here in silence and make this video go longer than it should be. So go ahead, tell me.
1996 was the last time the Indiana Hoosiers produced a first round pick. I think that streak ends this year with this guy. I looked this up earlier. I do not remember who it was. Roger Saffold was close. He was the number 33 pick back in, I believe, 2010, but he was not a first rounder. I think that streak does end this year with D'Angelo Ponds, who is my number 2 corner. You mentioned it. He is my comparison for D'Angelo Ponds is Devon Witherspoon. He is such a fun player to watch. Really good athlete, quick hips, great speed, super fluid. One of the better tacklers in the class. I thought he did an excellent job of wrapping up in the open field. He's got excellent closing speed. When the ball is in the air, he is going to find the football and he is going to close on the ball. I absolutely loved that. And we'll just get into the negative. He's 5'9", 170 pounds. He plays a lot bigger than his listed size.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I have the answer. That's why I wanted to. That's what I want to say. It was 1994.
It was a corner for Giants.
Close. It was 1994. It was Thomas Lewis, a wide receiver for the Giants.
That's right. Yeah. Just wild that Indiana has been in football poverty for that long. But, I mean, you talked about there's like 4 or 5 guys for Indiana that could be a first rounder.
Yes.
But going back to Ponds, I mean, he's 5'9", 170 pounds. That's going to be the reason why I think a lot of people might be a little surprised that
he plays so much bigger than that, though.
His reps against Jeremiah Smith and the
Ohio unreal.
I mean, for a guy, Jeremiah Smith has like at least 5 or 6 inches on him, and he is holding up better than 6'2" corners were holding up. He is so much bigger than what his listed size is, which I absolutely love. I do think he could be overly aggressive. Had 7 penalties in 2024.
Kind of have to be at that size if you're playing on the boundary.
Exactly. And I'm not as worried about that. I think he could tone it back. But the speed, the ability to play on the boundary at his size, I mean, the low-end comp would be Jacob Parrish, who was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick, a guy that was very similar size, played bigger. I think he's a lot better than that. I see a lot of Devon Witherspoon with his ability to tackle in the open field, the ability to play bigger than his size. Devon Witherspoon was my number 1 corner in that draft class. We had a lot of debates about that over him and Christian Gonzalez. I think D'Angelo Ponds is really freaking good, and I think he is going to break that curse for Indiana this year.
I have 2 words that best describe that I kept replaying in my head while watching Ponds. And listen, we don't like to toot our own horn. How long have we been both talking about D'Angelo Ponds to each other?
I tweeted about him, I think, in October last year.
It's been a while.
This guy's
feisty and disruptive. Those are the 2 words that just I mean, I could even throw tenacious in there if you want. But yeah, Ponds is someone that if you look purely at his size, you're going to say there's no way this guy could match up. But I mean, look at Upton Stout. Mm-hmm. Upton Stout was even someone this past year that got drafted, in the 3rd round? Yeah. That was 5'8", 175 or something like that.
Yeah.
A little bit smaller than Ponds. And he held up on the boundary, especially at the Senior Bowl. So Ponds is someone that I think is going to have to take the hard route to the NFL draft, where people are just going to consistently keep doubting him because of his size, and he's going to have to continuously prove people wrong. But I think he's more than up for the challenge.
And just the way that he carries himself, like I love corners that are confident and you can tell, and they kind of talk a little bit on the field. I mean, just watch him for 5 plays, and he definitely brings that mentality to the field. So I absolutely love D'Angelo Ponds, my number 2 corner in this class. Avion Terrell is my number 1 corner in this class. You had him at number 3. Why do you have Terrell at number 3?
I love that. See, I said this before. The top 3 for me is pretty much interchangeable.
Yeah.
Run defending, fantastic. If Kilgore didn't exist, he'd probably be my number 1 run defending corner.
Yeah.
His athleticism, great hips. That's what I love too. The swivel in his hips, fantastic. Just effortlessly able to change direction from one side of the field to the other, which is, if any of you guys are athletes that are watching this, is incredibly difficult to do. Another note I had on him here was great recovery speed. I thought there were times that I did see him get beat off the line of scrimmage and breezed right back into the play. And that's something that you don't ever want to be able to see about a player. You don't want to go, oh, wow, this guy got toasted, but he got back in the play. But a couple times I did see that, and he was able to pretty effortlessly get back into the play. So that was another big thing for me too. That's something that is so rare, especially at the NFL level. Once you get toasted off the line, you're done essentially.
Yeah.
And Terrell is someone that I honestly think as a prospect is probably better than his brother, I would say overall.
Yeah.
Especially because he blows him away in the run defending department. That's not a knock against AJ Terrell, but Avion Terrell is a really, really exciting prospect.
And you mentioned it. He's got the NFL bloodlines. His brother, for those of you that don't know, his brother is AJ Terrell in the Atlanta Falcons, one of the better corners in the NFL. The hips, you talked about it with AJ Harris. I think his hips might be a little bit better. He's just so fluid. It's really impressive. I love the run defense. Very disciplined in coverage. He didn't bite. He's got great closing speed. The ball skills and some of the just incredible interceptions that this guy pulls off, really impressive. Again, we're nitpicking. I have him as my number one corner. He's 5'11", 180. I want to see him bulk up a little bit, get a little bit stronger, maybe get to like 190 or something like that.
Can you imagine how good of a run defender he'd be at 190?
Yeah, absolutely. And for as good as of a tackler as he or as a run defender as he is, there were some inconsistent moments there as a tackler, almost a 15% missed tackle rate. Again, very nitpicky. I love this guy. He's my number one corner, and I think he's probably a lock for a first-round pick early on in this. But Domani McCoy, I wanted to put him in my number one corner so bad. This guy is unbelievable. He's, as a Tennessee fan, one of the best players in the secondary each of the last 2 years. It's the injury. Yep. I believe he's got an ACL tear. I don't know how much time he's going to miss this upcoming year, and that's why I have him at number 3. But for a guy to be coming off an ACL tear and to be at number 3 still, that should tell you how good of a player Domani McCoy is.
Well, in that, if you want to double down on that, I have him at number 1.
Yeah.
And he's coming off. So I did a little research on it today, a little update on the injury. So it was in January. Okay. It was not a complete tear of the ACL. So he shouldn't be missing too much time of the regular season. So
that's good news.
So maybe a couple games, maybe the first quarter of the season, if they really want to be cautious with him. But he's going to be playing quite a bit of football in 2025. And we've talked about this before, to McCoy's defense here. ACL injuries are not what they used to be. We have seen incredible medical advancements. Players come back even better than they were before the ACL injury. So, I don't know. I don't put that much stock. It is definitely something of note, 100%. I think that was the only reason why Savon Revel wasn't a first-round pick this past year.
Breaks my heart.
To be quite honest with you, because he was awesome and the ACL tear. So, I mean, maybe McCoy comes back, plays as good as he did last year. He's what? A top 15 player? Probably quite easily. I mean, overall, what's funny? If you look at the measurables, you look at the overall speed numbers, he's not going to blow you away with the overall numbers, but the athleticism is what gets you. See, like a lot of people don't understand when you say you could be quick and twitchy, but you don't have to be fast.
Yeah.
And that's what I think like McCoy is. And he's fast. Don't get me wrong. He's probably going to run in the high 4.4s, low 4.5s. That's not blazing speed for a corner, but the twitch and the quickness make up for it. And he is an unbelievable athlete. I mean, and the instincts as well that it was really a pleasure to watch. And I know that you're a Tennessee fan. And I know that you can attest to, it almost seems like he was running the route for the receiver most of the time.
I mean, he was incredible. And even to further your point, like, I don't think he's the fastest guy, but he was incredible at defending the deep ball. Like his ability to stick with receivers and play physical, I think is really impressive. He's 6 foot, 193 pounds. I mean, the only like real knock I can give him, again, he wasn't a great block shedder. And with the injury, I've got him at 3. If he comes back and plays at the same level he played this previous year, he's the number 1 corner in the class. I think pretty easily, to be honest. If the injury does slow him down a little bit, I mean, I still think he's a top 5 corner in this class. I think, like you said, the instincts are phenomenal. He moves really well. He's quick. He mirrors routes exceptionally well. There's so much to love about Domani McCoy. And I've got him as my number 3 corner. But before we wrap this up here, this is the last guy we'll talk about. Who are some guys that just missed the list for you? Some honorable mentions that you want to give a shout out that could be in this list at the end of the season?
One guy I definitely wanted to shout out, I mentioned it before, is Mr. like 6-team Tony Grimes. There's just something about Tony. He's now applying his craft at Purdue. So after being at, Texas A&M, North Carolina, UNLV, all that kind of stuff.
Michigan State, I think.
Michigan State. I mean, geez, Louise, he's been everywhere. He's been on a Bert Kreischer like college football tour. But Grimes is someone that's really interesting because he's got a fantastic athletic ability and really, really good size. And he's a pretty decent run defender too. And, you pop on the tape from last year and you're like, all right, like you kind of got something, but then you factor in all the transfers and the age and everything. And that's someone that's really going to kind of miss it for me. A bunch of the guys that we mentioned that were left off my list are just outside as well. Off the top of my head, I'm kind of drawing a blank on a couple. I know, and it's funny, I wrote down on my computer, but I'm screen recording. I wrote down the guys that I wanted to mention, and I always forget. But I'll pivot it over to you and see who you want to mention.
Yeah, like I said, we could have gone 20 deep on this. Couple of guys that I really liked. Jermaine Matthews at Ohio State didn't play until really the end of the year in a consistent role. I think he's got a chance to really be a great corner for the Buckeyes. Cam Calhoun transferring from Utah to Alabama. He checks all the physical boxes. I'm very curious to see how he looks at Alabama next to Domani Jackson. Amarian McCoy at Boise State's interesting to me. Jeremiah Wilson from Houston, now at Florida State.
That's right. That was one of the guys I wanted to mention.
Thad Dixon from Washington. He's going to North Carolina. Really fun player. And then if I got to throw a name out there of a guy that I think could potentially make this list late, like that's way down my board, I've got two names here. Rayon Strader, going from Miami of Ohio to Auburn, really interesting player. I liked a lot of what I saw from him. Very curious to see that. And I like Jonquise Hardaway and Theron Johnson. Hardaway's at Kentucky, Theron Johnson from Northwestern going to Oregon. I liked both of those guys quite a bit. But
Will Lee III is another guy that just popped into my head that I wanted to mention. We mentioned it before. Really great size overall, good coverage ability, not the greatest athlete, and that's ultimately, I actually did have him at 15 for quite some time. But overall, just in a class that's just so athletically gifted, it's kind of tough to look past the less than stellar athleticism. But again, another player that I think, I mean, that Texas A&M secondary has actually produced some pretty good players over the last few years. So, that remains to be seen, but that's another guy to look out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, a great time with this one. I'm excited to see how this class shapes up. I mean, it looks fantastic now. Let's see some more names and let's get into it. But stay tuned, guys. We've got another position rankings coming next week for you guys. Can't wait to get into it. But that's going to do it for us in this video. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Adios.